I recently was asked a question. The question is this: what makes a fighter kite a North American fighter kite? What's unique about a North American fighter kite that sets it apart from all other fighter kites, or all other kites for that matter? Well, it's a good question. And it's a question that is often difficult for people to really answer, even though they participate in North American fighter kiting all the time. And it's because the distinguishing difference hasn't got anything to do with the kite, not directly. It has to do with the way the kite is flown, what the intent is, what the purpose is of flying it. That's what's different about a North American fighter kite compared to all other fighter kites. If you're familiar at all with fighter kiting or fighter kites anywhere in the world, you know that they have one purpose, one intent when they put that kite in the air, and that is to use their flying line, which is coated with glass, powdered glass, use their flying line, which can be 1,000 yards long, to cut the flying line of every single kite they can come in contact with. That's their goal. That's their game. That's their purpose. None other. They don't have any other purpose. That is what fighter kiting is in all cultures that I'm aware of, except North America. In North America, we don't use glass-coated line. We think it's dangerous, and we think that it can cause too much harm accidentally from many aspects of it. So the intent of flying a fighter kite in North America is just to have fun and to play aerial games that are more fun than cutting a kite out of the sky. The aerial games are combat style and non-combat style. There's many different ones. And as this different purpose, different intention in flying a fighter kite became more and more popular, then new materials began to be used, more updated or more advanced materials were being used to make the kites in order to enhance their performance, both the speed and their maneuverability. So most North American fighter kites are not made out of paper and bamboo, which is what traditional fighter kites are made from in almost every country in the world that flies fighter kites, bamboo and tissue paper. Because the kites are going to be lost. I mean, that's what they're there for. But in North America, they're not going to be lost, or not intentionally anyway. So newer, more advanced materials were beginning to be used, and designs of kites began to shift to use these newer materials in ways that bamboo and tissue paper weren't really very practical. And as the North American fighter kiting activity began to become more and more popular, and it's still in its infancy, by the way, the kites became much faster, and much more maneuverable, but only because in North America, the length of the flying line, the distance between the flyer and the kite, is rarely more than 150 feet. Now, in all other cultures, it's usually thousands of feet or many hundreds at the minimum. Well, when you have that much string or line hanging from a kite, it changes its abilities to fly a certain way. It can't do it, and it does slow it down. But when you're using a kite differently, like we do in North America, our purpose is we want it to be faster. We want the maneuverability to be quicker and to be more predictable. And so we designed the kites a little differently. The shapes are similar. I mean, the shapes of a North American fighter kite is very typically, like a diamond-shaped kite. This is one shape that's common among all cultures. It could be any shape, though. The shape doesn't matter. This is a design from Japan called a buka, and in North America, we shrunk it down and changed the material in order to make the kite much faster and much quicker in its maneuverability. It's highly competitive and a ton of fun to fly, as are all North American fighter kites. When you think about any maneuverable kite, normally you think of a multi-line stunt kite, which is what they used to be called, or they're now called sport kites, but they move in all kinds of tricky ways, and they're fun to fly. And they take multiple lines to do it. Well, a North American fighter kite is the ultimate single line sport kite. That's really what it is. It's a sport kite. It can do all kinds of maneuvers. You just have to learn how, just like with a 2-line or a 4-line stunt kite, except that with one line, we have an additional dimension of flying that they do not have. We can fly our kite different distances away from us, and that gives us an advantage that's beyond belief, that we can make the kite fly 20 feet away, or we can make it fly 150 or 200 feet away. The line length is not fixed. So that's one of the differences in a single line sport kite versus a multi-line sport kite. It's not so much the difference in the tricks they do, because they all do specific tricks that are unique to them, including a single line sport kite, North American fighter kite. They do too. And so that's the answer, in my opinion. And I hope it helps you understand it better, and I hope it helps you to see the value in getting involved. See you on the flying field.